Welcome to Nick and Dave Deep Dive the Metaverse, a podcast exploring cult classics, subculture, and geek media. I'm Nick.
And I'm Dave.
And we will be your tour guides for this deep dive of Terry Gilliam's 1995 post-apocalyptic time travel thriller, 12 Monkeys.
And it's worth mentioning that this is actually, I wouldn't call it a remake, but it's heavily inspired by Chris Marker's 1962 film La Jetée.
Yes. Did you watch that?
No, I didn't.
I watched it yesterday. It's not exactly a film. It's
It's called a short film online.
It's a photo montage with dialogue and sound effects.
Oh, so it's like a extra deluxe radio drama?
Yeah, kind of. It is not that far from a radio drama, but it has like the major beats of the story too. Like,
oh, okay.
Terry Gilliam said that he never watched the short film, but it's obvious that that's what the screenwriters were, they're taking from and expanding upon the concepts.
It was interesting to me that they chose to remake this, and I was also doing a bunch of, deep diving like you do. Mm-hmm. I didn't find this called Cyberpunk almost anywhere.
Yeah, so the little background there. This is our one substitution because we already had done an episode on Ghost in the Shell, which is the film that technically occupies this spot in the top 10.
Yeah, top 10 chronological. We're not going in order of like quality or anything.
Right. And so we subbed this one over, I think, from Rotten Tomatoes, from their top 10 cyberpunk list.
Yeah, because every movie on here is from Letterboxd.
Yeah, we used Letterboxd for
Rotten
our
Tomatoes
top
for
10
subs.
Yes, that's how we did it.
And I don't know if I agree with Rotten Tomatoes that this is cyberpunk. It's definitely sci-fi. That's obvious.
Yeah, and there's some punk elements, but there's nothing in it that is particularly cyberpunk to me either. I didn't think so. Mm-hmm.
So let's just end the episode and do a different movie.
We'll pause right here and go watch Dark City. I think that's next on the list.
Done.
No, I mean, I do really enjoy this movie, so I was glad to cover it. But watching it, I was like, not much cyber happening.
This was the first time I ever watched this movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Interesting.
I had passed it over when it first came out. I don't know why. I just have this, like, how like you have these memories that are just vague recollections. I just remember thinking that Brad Pitt looked like an idiot in the trailer, and I was like, I'm not gonna like that. And when I was young in 1995, once I decided something was lame, it was just lame forever.
Yeah, that's funny, but accurate. Yeah. So I saw this in the theater, not when it first came out, but we still do have, now it's more of a repertory theater. Then it was a second run theater called Kiggins.
Yeah. Is it still called Kiggins?
It's still called Kiggins.
It's a pretty legit place.
And they fixed it up. It's nice. If you're ever in Vancouver, Washington, Kiggins is a good place to see a movie.
Yeah, I went and saw Knights of Badassdom there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't really know what that is.
It's like a movie about LARPing. That was hilarious because it's a comedy.
Yeah, okay, I do know what that is. Okay. Anyways, at the time when I saw this movie there, Kiggins was probably not really a nice place. It was a place you could see.
It was like sticky floors.
A double feature for $1 sort of thing.
Yeah, it was cheap. I don't know if it was $1, but it was certainly under $5 for 2 movies when we were teenagers.
And that's where I saw 12 Monkeys, and I really loved this movie, and so much so I bought the double VHS.
Oh shit!
Where it came with the making of documentary, and then promptly, I probably watched that once, and then it went into the cabinet, and I've never revisited this movie.
Wow. The only movie I ever bought the double VHS for back in the day was Braveheart.
Oh, yeah?
Because that was my shit.
Braveheart's actually long enough, I think, to justify a double VHS,
yeah,
right?
Maybe it is, yeah. But I think, let's put this on the list of things to do. We need to do historical fiction.
Oh,
we need to do
top
a
10.
series like we get like Braveheart and shit like that. Or maybe that goes in the swords and sorcery. I don't know. There's no sorcery.
There's no sorcery.
There's a lot of swords.
Can you go so hard on
Can we
one
just go
side?
swords and swords?
I guess. I mean, that's sort of, this gets somehow lumped into the cyberpunk thing.
Just because there's like time travel
with
and
almost no cyber anything in it.
yeah, and it's post-apocalyptic. So I think people usually think post-apoc and cyberpunk are the same thing, but not really in my mind. Usually in cyberpunk there has been no apocalypse. It's just been degeneration.
Right.
So it's just kind of weird. So as for the stats on this thing, they built it. They filmed it. Yeah, they built it for just under $30 million, and it was, where'd my numbers go? I think it made, there it is. It made just about 169 million. That's a lot. I mean, it redoubled its efforts 5 times over.
So it was a big sleeper hit in that the studio wasn't confident in it. The test screenings were really bad. They were really just banking on Bruce Willis and Brad Pitt being marketable enough that they could, make their money back. And then the movie just became huge.
Yeah. And Brad Pitt was nominated for Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor, and he won the Golden Globe for that performance.
I remember this as being, because this and Seven came out kind of in quick succession.
Yeah.
And I remember these movies really changing my opinion about him. Like,
for
or it's
sure.
like, oh, this guy, he's not just the pretty boy from the vampire movie. He's also an actor with a lot of range.
He was good in that vampire movie. Stand behind that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It got a lot of critical praise. It made a lot of money, and people seem to love it. So I guess even if it's not cyberpunk, it's definitely sci-fi. It's cyberpunk adjacent enough.
It's cyberpunk adjacent. It's tech noir.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is a cyberpunk subgenre. So
yeah, I don't know. Can you be a cyberpunk subgenre without being cyberpunk? Because all cyberpunk is sci-fi, but not all sci-fi is cyberpunk.
That's true. Well, do you consider Terminator to be cyberpunk? Because it usually is.
No, it's not. Otherwise, it would be on this Letterboxd top 10, and it's
I don't think it's. I just don't think the rating is high enough.
Terminator?
Yeah.
Man, Terminator, especially Terminator 2, that was just the shit.
Yeah, but that one's definitely not cyberpunk. There's no punk to that one at all.
That's true. The first one is pretty punky, though. Oh. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. So maybe we should roll for initiative.
Yeah, let's get into that.
My dice was ominously sitting on a 1. 14.
10.
All right, I will go.
Okay.
So, I like white-haired fantasy people.
White-haired fantasy people. So, that's a subgenre?
Yes, it's a new subgenre. There's a new spin-off of The Witcher called The Witcher Blood Origin. It's a prequel, much like House of the Dragon sequel. It's going to talk about like the first Witchers. It's set 1,200 years before The Witcher. It's basically set in an elf-dominated world. You're going to learn about the very first Witcher and the event that led up to the conjunction of spheres, which is basically when the worlds of monster, men, elves, and all of that converge to become one into a big fantasy world. And it's debuting on Christmas.
Okay, so is that new information? Because I remember there was a teaser for that.
There was a little teaser, but there was no. They didn't actually give a time frame.
Okay.
They didn't talk about major events like, okay, this is sort of their the conjunction of spheres is like the Witcher's meta Genesis event that made it what it is.
Right.
It begins in the world of elves,
okay,
and then it ends up in the conjunction of spheres. So that's pretty cool.
And it's starring Michelle Yeoh, correct?
It's a bit of an ensemble cast, kind of. I don't really remember all the people, but it just looked pretty dope.
Yeah, everyone that's attached to this is like a powerhouse. So I think, this looks strong.
They really, just like HBO grabs a hold of the Game of Thrones IP and is going to ring it out. Netflix is going to do the same thing with The Witcher, and they should. It's dope.
Yeah.
All right, what you got?
All right, first up, Ryan Reynolds surprised everyone yesterday when he dropped an announcement video for Deadpool 3.
I saw that.
Gave it a release date of September 6th, 2024. And then
24? The fuck? It's only 22.
Well, it takes a while to make a movie. They're just in pre-production.
All right.
And then surprised everyone by announcing Hugh Jackman's coming back to play Wolverine one more time.
He's going to be Wolverine in there. Yeah, I saw that, and I thought to myself, there is only one Wolverine, and it's Hugh Jackman. Unless they change the character to X-23 or something like that.
Yeah.
It could be a mantle you pass, but you can never be Logan.
You don't think so?
There's one Logan.
I don't know about that. We'll see in 2025 when I'm sure we have a whole new cast of X-Men. But
sure.
Yeah, I mean, I have mixed feelings about this because I hold the film Logan up on kind of a pedestal.
It's really good.
And it's when you have such
You wanted that to be the swan song?
Yeah, when you have such a good swan song, it's hard to go back, and it feels, on some level, it feels like it cheapens it. I know it doesn't, because you can't actually change the past, and you can't take anything away, and so nothing changes about Logan. But there's a part of me that goes like, oh, they should have just
It'd be like
left
if
it.
Slayer did another farewell tour.
Yeah, but bands do that all the time.
Yeah, they do. It's the norm now.
Yeah. And so this is the second farewell of Wolverine. I've been expecting Hugh Jackman to come back for Secret Wars in 2025.
Yeah.
I think they're going to get anyone that's ever been anyone to come back for that movie. And so, I was not as surprised as some people were, but I'm a little surprised at the same time.
Yeah.
And I'm not against it, though. Like, I'm not a hater of fun, so I'm not going to be like, this sucks and they shouldn't make it. But I also just feel a little more ambivalent than I'd like to.
Huh. You don't just like have a big Wolverine boner ready to go.
Yeah, it just snicked. It popped out. Yeah. No, that didn't exactly happen. More, I went like, huh. I wonder how much they paid him to do this, because I bet it is an ungodly amount of money.
Yeah, Ryan Reynolds is like, I'll take half pay if you can get Hugh.
Yeah, and this is what makes me feel good about it, is because I know that the two of them, this has always been what they wanted to do for Deadpool 3, was a Wolverine Deadpool movie.
Yeah,
and so I do feel like they're getting to do a thing they thought they weren't going to get a chance to do. So I feel good about that.
Yeah, it should be fun.
I'm sure it's going to be hilarious.
Probably watch it.
What's your number 2, Adam?
All right, so I just finished it. It came out very recently, and I binge watched it. So, Cyberpunk Edgerunners.
Oh, how was that?
The 10-episode anime on Netflix again, and it is fucking good.
Okay,
like if you played Cyberpunk 2077. You watch the anime and they nailed it. Like the gun designs, the vehicles, the city, it's all straight out of the video game look wise, but it's a high end anime made by Studio Trigger, which is a Japanese company. And it was just super good. Like I really enjoyed the whole arc from the beginning of this character all the way to the end of his story. And it kind of leaves you with those same bittersweet vibes that you should feel. Like, welcome to Night City. Yeah. Like, it's supposed to be like everyone gets fucked in the end. Like, that's just how it works. And it's good. Like, I really enjoyed this anime.
Okay.
The episodes are like 25 minutes, so you can watch it over a few days if you just watch a couple episodes at a time. And it's totally worth watching. It's good.
I like Trigger as a studio. They make really I think they're one of the very modern studios that still I find graphically appealing.
Because it looks great.
Yeah, they're really good. They did what was Kill la Kill, I think, was kind of a big breakout, and they did a movie called Promare that I saw on IMAX, and it is something to behold. It is quite a psychedelic experience. So yeah, I've been looking forward to this, but I just haven't got to it because I've been traveling, so I'm behind on a lot of stuff.
And I mean, this isn't a separate news item, but
Mm-hmm.
because it's been out for a little while, but I'm stoked for the Cyberpunk DLC that's supposed to be coming.
Yeah, no, I am too.
I'm going to download that. I'm going to start a fresh character, play that shit.
Maybe I'll do that too.
I've been away from the game long enough that I think a fresh character is the way to go.
Okay.
All right, so what you got?
Number 2, this was a surprise this morning. I opened up Twitter and Neil Gaiman announced Sandman Act 3 dropped on Audible today.
Oh, nice.
So the wait is over. Join the king of dreams on his journey and embrace the chaos that is unleashed as your imagination ignites and the story is brought to life.
Wow.
That's what they posted on Twitter. I knew this was coming, but they hadn't given it a date, so I was just like waiting, but not really sure. So I was.
You think they're teasing out Sandman news, like because they haven't even said if there's going to be another season of Sandman TV show?
I think they're still judging the metrics of the Sandman TV show because it did really, really well, but it's also really expensive. So it has to contain or maintain a certain threshold of numbers for them to.
It has to have staying power.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, we're still waiting, I think, to find out about Sandman 2. But I'm pretty optimistic. I'll knock on wood about that one. I think Sandman season 2 is coming.
Yeah, that'd be dope.
Oh, what's your next item?
All right, so this is just nerd news. We know, of course, we know about Darth Vader. He, the voice. It's iconic. It is no longer going to be made by humans anymore. It's fully licensed and approved now. It's going to be AI generated from now on. The company Respeecher is a tech firm out of Ukraine that has software that can clone voices, so you can do speech to speech. Like I can read lines into a mic, and then they run it through this software, and it changes the voice to something completely. So Darth Vader's voice will be authentically the original. And it will just be now AI driven. No longer will we have fresh lines given. They've all been done.
Did we have fresh line readings from James Earl Jones in Obi-Wan Kenobi? Because I don't think we did.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's 91.
Yeah, and you hear him sometimes do little voiceover things, and there's like a shake in his voice that I didn't notice in Obi-Wan Kenobi if it was there.
Well, I'm sure that they modulated it.
Yeah.
I think he did the voices in there, and just like they had Mark Hamill do Luke Skywalker, they use speech to speech with him too on his own voice,
where he would read the lines and then they would
have younger Mark Hamill voice come out.
Oh, it's a weird time.
So it's his performance and emulating his younger voice.
Yeah.
This is the future.
It's a weird future. I'm not.
The world of deep fakes, man. Soon we're going to have like original ass characters from actors that are dead.
I'm not on board with this. This is not I don't want this future.
The next generation of actors are all just going to be green screen mocap suit masters.
So depressing, but probably not far from the truth.
So what else you got?
My next thing is, let's see, how to get into this. So for over 25 years, 27 years, I think, there's been one North American Godzilla fandom fest, and that was G-Fest.
Okay.
But the G-Fest star has been waning over the last couple of years, and this, we're in a very politically stratified time, and the politics of the convention operator or organizer were starting to kind of come into question. And then over the last 2 years of the festival, started really ratcheting up the rules on people in the artist alley to the point where they weren't allowed to sell Godzilla artwork.
What?
They could only officially licensed products, not fan art. Which, if you've ever been to any sort of Comic-Con or science fiction convention or anything, fan art is the bread and butter of the artist alley.
Yeah, for sure.
And so they made it so you couldn't, make your own prints of your artwork or whatever.
Yeah. And
so there has been a mutiny in the community, and now we have Days of the Dead, which I think was like a Walking Dead convention when it started out.
Okay.
Days of the Dead presents All Monsters Attack Convention, May 5th through 7th, 2023, in Chicago, which is the same city where G-Fest happens every year in July. And they really have
like 2 months before.
And they have all like the Japanese guests, like Ben Furuya, who played Ultraman in the old TV show, and like they're bringing all the Japanese guests over.
Pretty much cutting the knees out from under G-Fest.
So this is, I've never actually even been to G-Fest. It's always kind of been on my to-do list, but I suspect it won't be on my to-do list anymore because I think it's going to die.
It's probably extinct.
Yeah, probably. But
if that had been closer, if that had been like Seattle or San Francisco, that would be pretty cool to go to. But Chicago, that's a little far away.
Yeah, but you get to go to Chicago.
Yeah, I've been to Chicago.
See, I've never been, so I have a reason.
It's pretty legit.
I could also go pizza and for a Godzilla Fest.
Pizza and all the other food. So much good food in Chicago.
For sure.
It's awesome.
Do you have anything else?
I don't have any news items, but I had a show that I just finished watching that I figured I'd say something about because it's not on my What Are You Into right now.
Okay.
Reservation Dogs season 2, just finished it. Watched the 10th episode today. It dropped.
Oh, I haven't seen that one. Okay.
Fucking good. This season,
I love this show so much.
Season is good, and it's been renewed for season 3 already. I love this show. I think it's so good. It's so smart. It's sad. It's funny. It makes you feel real feelings. It's just like, I think everyone who hasn't watched Reservation Dogs should go on Hulu and watch it. It's the best show on Hulu. It might be one of the best shows on TV. It's just so good.
I won't disagree with that. I mean, I really love that show. I love those kids so much.
So which one of the Res Dogs is your favorite? Which do you like?
I guess Willie Jack is probably my favorite. I like all of them. I like Cheese and Bear and Alora. And they're all kind of in the running with each other.
Yeah,
because they're all sort of precious in their own way.
Yeah,
it's really weird how your relationship to kids in media changes as you get older. Because like, say a show like when we were teenagers, there was My So-Called Life.
Yeah,
it felt very like relevant to my age. Whereas now I watch the kids on Reservation Dogs with paternal feelings.
Like, they're just your precious child.
Yeah, it's like, oh, these babies, I don't want bad things to happen to them. Like, it's not like I know what it's like to go through that. I have no idea what it's like to be a teen on the reservation.
I go with Willie Jack as well. She's my favorite one, but
she's the glue, man. She holds that group together.
Cheese is in a strong second place. I love that kid.
Actually, the whole Cheese focused episode when he gets put in the group home.
That was amazing.
Was a good episode, man.
He's just a really good kid. Yeah. So anyway, that was my last thing that I just wanted to reiterate. We've talked about this show half a dozen times. If there's a diver out there that hasn't watched Reservation Dogs, they got to get out there.
I bet Cheese goes to All Monster Attack Convention. He always wears Godzilla shirts.
Yeah, he probably does. And if the G-Fest guy was a dick, he would be against that. Yeah, he's really all about being cool to people.
It's true. That's that was. Not to stay on this too long, I thought that was really moving when like they were like, "Why do you talk like that?" And he says the thing about his friend that took his own life and how he started researching why someone would do that, and he decided to always talk to people the way that they would want to be talked to. And it was just like, oh man, it turned this thing that just seemed like a weird like personality quirk and like gave it such depth. And that's a good show.
Very good show. Do you have any more news?
I have a little bit of news. I'm going to call this the Metaverse Bump.
Oh.
Because after we covered Francis Lawrence's Constantine, Warner Brothers axed the TV show they were developing for HBO Max and greenlit a sequel starring Keanu Reeves and bringing Francis Lawrence back.
And I'm pretty sure I called for that.
Yeah.
Like right in the episode.
We both did.
Yeah, we got to have more Keanu. he is like, I was just like, not my Constantine. This other dude.
So we got what we wanted there. everyone's coming back that was involved in the original movie.
Hell yeah.
And then the other thing that got a metaverse bump from us is Blade Runner, because Blade Runner...
Because it definitely needed it.
It needed it.
The best sci-fi movie of all time needed us.
It needed us to get an Amazon sequel series called Blade Runner 2099, which is being produced by Ridley Scott for Amazon, taking place 50 years after the last sequel.
Yeah, that's so far.
Yeah. But would... what's his name? Why can't I think? Ryan Gosling. Would Ryan Gosling's character still be around? Probably. Yeah. 50 years later. Replicants live a long time.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So Blade Runner 2099 and Constantine 2, you're welcome.
Yeah. Cheers from the metaverse. All right. So what are we drinking? What's our podcast fuel?
Our podcast fuel, I'm breaking the norms a little bit by not really having something that is themed to the episode. But as I said earlier, I was traveling. I've been in Northern California. And when you're in Northern California, you go to Russian River Brewery in Santa Rosa. And actually, they have a big facility in Windsor, California now, which is where I picked up these bad boys. And that is Pliny the Elder. It is an Imperial IPA, 8% ABV, 100 IBUs, brewed with Amarillo, Centennial, CTZ, Cascade, Warrior, and Simcoe hops. And it's even though it's a big beer, it's an extremely well-balanced beer. That's the thing about Pliny. It's an Imperial IPA that just sort of drinks like a regular IPA. Yeah,
I would say that this is what I would say, like, if you want to know what like a proper hoppy IPA tastes like, Pliny is perfect for that. This is the standard.
It's the pinnacle West Coast IPA.
Yeah, this is kind of like the king of the style. Mm-hmm. It's very good. When you pulled it out of the bag, I was like, yeah. So yeah, this is the best beer we've had in episodes.
Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah, it's the most remarkable one for sure. Well, why don't we take a break and then we'll get into our deep dive. Welcome back, divers. Let's dive into 12 Monkeys, 1995, directed by Terry Gilliam.
I like that it starts off with a green text. It's not a scroll, but it's being typed out. It's kind of got that old school tech vibe, like retro future, I guess.
And it felt like we had been moving away from this. Like our first two movies started with a scroll.
Yeah.
And then this seemed like a return back to Escape from New York and back to Blade Runner.
Yeah, and it basically just lets us know that a deadly virus killed billions of people in 1996. Most humanity was killed, moved underground. Yeah. They're basically living like Morlocks.
Yes, and you're watching this in 1995. So 1996 is the very near future. Mm-hmm. Like it's the apocalypse is imminent. And so, yeah, we meet our protagonist, James Cole. He's in like a futuristic prison setting.
Yeah, I mean, first we get this psychedelic, cheesy intro thing with the circling, swirling monkeys and stuff. Yeah. And that immediately made me think, like, this feels really old school. Because there was a fair amount of opening credits with the psychedelic spinning thing with these monkeys, as well as the retro throwback, like, green scroll. It really does... It really does kind of throw back. It seems old school.
Yeah, and it's weird. Is this our first movie from the 90s?
Let me check. I think it is. It might be.
Yeah,
and it's all the way in 1995. Yeah,
because as we were
Akira in 88, and now we're at 12 Monkeys in 95.
So as we were getting towards the end of the 80s, things were modernizing, and now it's like we're already revisiting things from the earlier decade.
Yeah, like this is like 15-year throwback.
Yeah,
basically.
I thought that was interesting too.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So we open up on Bruce Bruce Willis, kind of looking like John McClane. He has a dream. He's in a train station, and there's
airport.
Airport, and they're like shooting and whatnot, and then he kind of wakes up and he's in a little cage in a hammock.
Yeah, and it's the people in these cages, they're like stacked like cordwood on each other basically, and they're taking volunteers right now.
Air quotes volunteers. Yeah. Basically, they call out names of people who have been volunteered.
Yeah, and then they come and pull them out of their cell with a crane.
Yeah.
And so, it's a very bleak dystopian future that we're looking at.
Yeah, and this is like 2035, and he's in Philadelphia, and he's been voluntold. He's going. And so it's interesting because, like, when they take him to volunteer duty, he goes and he gets in this plastic jumpsuit, and he gets all weirded up, and
they scrub him down and like delouse him and everything. He's got 2 nude scenes in the movie where they fully delouse the poor guy. And they put him in like a spacesuit, like kind of an improvised spacesuit.
Yeah, it looks very sci-fi and fairly dystopian, but not at all cyberpunk. It actually kind of seems steampunk.
Yeah, steampunk is probably closer to the mark. It's all... I watched the making of documentary called The Hamster Factor.
Okay.
And it is... The set designer and the production designer talked about everything is scavenged and cobbled together basically. So everything is made from found materials.
So I'm just looking at this movie and I'm just sort of putting it in my, like I'm referencing my source material, like other cyberpunk movies and other stuff. And I can't help but when I see these sets and these costumes, I just can't help but compare them to Blade Runner. And I'm just like, this falls fucking short.
It's such a different thing. I mean, I think it doesn't benefit from that comparison, I mean, not just because it doesn't measure up to it.
Yeah.
But it's not the same. It's not even attempting the same thing. I mean, we've sort of retroactively put it into this category, perhaps erroneously.
Yeah.
But I think I think it probably, especially the future stuff, compares more favorably with the Mad Max movies. Like it probably belongs more in that post-apocalyptic milieu.
I think if we were going to do a post-apoc series, this would be better for that series.
Probably. Well, I guess we'll see, because we'll probably get to that eventually, and we might have to sub where this one falls into that. We'll have to sub it out with something else. Maybe slide Waterworld in there.
That is post-apocalyptic. You got to have the Postman and Waterworld.
We could do the whole Kevin Costner
trilogy. Yeah, that'd be perfect. Let's just do a Kevin Costner series.
So anyways, what he's being suited up for is an expedition to the surface. Everyone, since the virus, everyone lives underground, and he's going up into the streets of Philadelphia in his makeshift spacesuit. And there's warnings on the wall, like if you get a tear in your suit, basically you're on your own.
Yeah,
there's no coming back
because there's a virus. You know, he can't bring it back.
And Philadelphia is just like completely abandoned. We see like real Philadelphia landmarks like City Hall and everything, and there's literally a lion up on the top of City Hall.
Yeah, he collects up a roach, and then he gets scared by a bear that's meandering by, and then there's like a lion. He's collecting up a spider. Everything's destroyed in this city. It's just absolutely totally messed up. You know what I was hypothesizing myself? I was thinking like, if you're gonna live in a little hamster cage that's stacked up with the rest of them and totally screwed or whatever, why wouldn't you just try to get the virus and bring it back to the catacombs?
Bring it back to the thing?
Because fuck them. They put you in a cage.
I mean, here's what I think. I mean, just with a little basic understanding of things, there's no people on the surface, right?
No.
There's no one to get the virus from. You send me to the surface, and
just run, right?
Yeah, I just I mean, go back to my house in the city that I used to live in. It was like, yep, locks still work. And I just live up here and I'm sleeping in my own bed again. And are you going to come get me?
Yeah, I mean, maybe the virus is airborne. Maybe you die from it, but who cares? It's better than the other
Oh,
life.
yeah. I'd rather die on the surface than live in that cage. I think that's where I would be at.
All right, so he's up there, and he sees the monkey graffiti tag. That's notable. Yeah. He sees one of those, and then he goes back down and gets scrubbed off. And
that's when he gets scrubbed off.
They inject him with shit, and then he stands in front of a board of scientists, and these are all very cartoonish, nerdy people,
right?
With big glasses, and there's like steampunk nonsense. There's like gears and like broken clocks and shit, and they sit him down in a chair, and it rises up really high, and I'm just like thinking to myself, what the fuck am I watching?
You're watching a weird Terry Gilliam movie.
Yeah, it's like this has a strong Willy Wonka DNA.
Interesting. Yeah. Terry Gilliam's a pretty interesting director. I think I was shocked to find out that he was American because he's...
I would have thought he was French or French Canadian.
Oh, see, I always assumed he was British because he's a member of Monty Python.
Oh,
so
okay.
I thought for sure he was also a Brit, but he's actually from Minnesota.
Oh.
And he moved over to the UK in the 60s and then has lived there ever since. But
I want to go live there. It seems good.
I think it must have been easier. In the 60s, you could just go as like a college dropout and be like, I think I'm going to live in England. And they're like, I guess. Sure.
All right. Welcome.
Welcome. There's no job, so I don't know what you're doing here. But I guess what you were saying something about his weird aesthetic. It feels very, Time Bandits, Brazil. Like it feels of a piece with his other sci-fi movies.
Yeah, it feels cheap.
Huh. Okay.
That's what I thought. Like none of this feels high budget. This feels
it wasn't. It was a very low budget.
This is like thrift store sci-fi.
Yeah. I mean that's accurate. It absolutely. He sacrificed budget for creative control.
Okay.
Because he wanted Final Cut on the film, and in order to get what he wanted, Universal gave him it looked like a union contract, his budget, and he had very strict numbers he couldn't go over.
Oh wow, that's insane.
Which if you're making a movie where it's either in sort of impoverished cities like Philadelphia and Baltimore, and then your future is in destroyed Philadelphia or Baltimore where you're cobbling things together with found objects, it lends itself to that low budget.
Yeah, some scavenging. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so basically, they talk to him, and they basically say he's been selected to go back in time to find the original virus and try to figure out a way to do a cure. If he does this time travel mission, he's going to get a reduced sentence.
Yeah. Yeah, we get I forget the details of it. They kind of explain the different things that he's in jail for. Yeah. And he sounds like a pretty rough character, but you also don't trust their justice system. It's like you don't know how railroaded he was. But anyways, they're going to send him back to 1996, to right before the virus is released. Mm-hmm. And then we catch up with him in Baltimore in 1990.
Yeah, and there's this lady giving a lecture on art, and she's in a lecture, and her beeper keeps going off, and we learn later that this is the psychologist, and they're just sort of giving us a glimpse of what she's going through.
Right.
And then we see Cole arrives in Baltimore. It's in 1990, and he gets promptly arrested, put in jail, and that's when enter again the Dr. Catherine Rayleigh.
Yeah.
The lady from the fancy art lecture. She's just a county psych ward psych.
Right. because she wasn't giving the lecture. She was
at the lecture.
She was in the audience.
Yeah,
yes, that's right. So she goes in to evaluate this guy, and she has this sense of familiarity with him right from the start. She thinks that maybe he's a former patient of hers, and he's just, doped up beyond belief. He's drooling and not fully coherent. But the cops assure her he's very dangerous. He took on 3 cops, and it was hell to bring him in. And so basically she gets him admitted to the county hospital.
Mm-hmm. And they like drag him out, and he's all cringing in the sunlight because he's a mole person.
Right.
And then they throw him in the back of the truck. He then gets another delousing scene.
Yeah, I thought it was
where these orderlies are complete dicks.
Oh yeah,
like they're treating him like shit. But I think they had to get their money's worth out of Bruce Willis's ass.
He looks good for like a 40-something Bruce Willis. I think this is sort of peak physical form Bruce Willis.
Okay.
He's a lot skinnier in the early Die Hard movies. Like he's definitely like he's filled out and middle-aged, and he's looking good in these movies. I think he volunteered for some of these nude scenes.
Yeah, probably.
I do like the parallel though of like he is without dignity or autonomy in either world. Like basically he's a prisoner in one world, comes back here, and he's a prisoner in this world. And it starts building the sense of which world is real, and like it's ambiguous at this point if any of the stuff we've seen up to this point actually happened or not.
Yeah, like is the future where he supposedly originated, is that just his hallucination?
Yeah.
Or not? So he gets put in there, and he meets Jeffrey Goins, who is this Brad Pitt's character, who's an environmentalist and a corporatist, but he's a complete wackadoo. Like, I think that Brad Pitt's performance here is pretty intense. He won awards for it.
Yeah.
And it's pretty vibrant, I'd say.
Yeah.
But the whole asylum like scenes, like it just felt long. Like I was like, this movie's over 2 hours long, and like we've watched some movies that are like a tight hour 45 or 2 hours, whatever. This is loose. This is like there's like a million throwaway moments that could have been cut.
Okay,
it just went on and on in the mental hospital without furthering the plot in the least.
Yeah, just establishing
just
mood
boring.
Or something. Okay, interesting.
I was just like, fuck, let's go.
I think Brad Pitt is giving such a performance here.
They just can't cut any of it.
I think they just can't cut any of it because it's all... I mean, because he spent a serious amount of time working with psychologists and basically studying the sort of like borderline personality disorder and like the sort of things that he's emulating so that he could get the accurate sort of like tics and really portray it. I think he's like maybe at an 11 when I would have rather seen it at a 10.
It's a little overblown.
But what I kept saying to Lisa is he's just beyond, and it's not meant to be negative on these people. He's just a little bit beyond the guys that pump the gas at the gas station by my work.
Oh, God.
Literally everyone that works there behaves like this.
Huh.
And it's like, so like there's certain things about his performance that ring extremely true to me where I'm like, oh no, I know that look in the eyes. Like I know it very well. And that is really how people struggling with that stuff, how they act. And I guess I'm dealing with people who are functioning with those with those illnesses rather than institutionalized with them.
Yeah.
It rings very true to me though, is the point I'm getting at.
Yeah, so what seems like an excruciatingly long 37 minutes or whatever they spend in the hospital, then eventually John McClane is brought in front of a panel of doctors
Right.
again, just like the panel of nerds,
Right.
Nerd scientists. So it's not clear, is this all hallucinatory? Are these the same people? Like,
Right,
just
exactly.
how much drugs he does? Because it's the same setup. The whole thing. They don't believe him about a virus outbreak that's already happened. They're playing Who's on First.
Yeah.
Not funny, actually. It was just annoying. The Who's on First. It's just the dialogue is not tight. The cuts are not tight.
Okay.
We're like 12 minutes into the movie at this point.
Oh, wow.
Like,
okay.
actually, I think I looked at it. It was 17 minutes in or something like that. And I'm just like, get the fuck on with it.
Okay.
And so I was already bored. I was bored before 20 minutes. So
Okay.
if that tells you how the rest of my review goes.
I guess it does. I don't know why I'm surprised. I don't know why I'm surprised.
You saw this movie before and you thought, Dave's going to love this.
No, actually, when I was watching it, this falls on the line of, well, Dave loves Brad Pitt an awful lot.
I do.
And
I like
so,
pretty much every movie he's
I'm
in.
like, I know that he really likes anything that Brad Pitt is in. I go, but this is kind of slow and he gets bored. And then I go, but he really likes Blade Runner and that's as slow as a movie can get. Mm-hmm. So I was like, this was like a toss-up.
I think where it loses me, nothing is funny, but it tries to be.
You think it's trying to be funny?
The whole mental hospital is cartoonish. It's one big joke. Like all these people, like the gags and all the various things. It's just not funny.
Yeah, I don't laugh, but I don't think it's supposed to be funny.
Okay, well, it's not funny, haha, and it's not amusing. Like, how intriguing! It's neither of those things.
Huh. Yeah.
So I don't know what they're going for.
I think there is stuff. I think some of the stuff that Brad Pitt says is probably
clever,
intended to be humorous.
Yeah.
But I don't think you're supposed to be laughing through those scenes. I don't think that's the point of them.
He does quite a number of hijinks.
Yeah,
and they're supposed to be amusing.
The stuff we can just push on the gas a little bit and get to Brad Pitt's character Jeffrey. He takes certain things that Cole says while he's, drugged up and then runs with them. And he's like, we're going to do the plan. And he's like, what plan? What are you talking about? Because Cole's always heavily sedated. So he's not in control of what Jeffrey does with the things that he plants in his mind.
He's semi-coherently blathering. Right. And Jeffrey Goins, he takes that as like gospel.
Yeah. And he's like, we're going to do the plan where we break you out, And so I think there is points in this where you laugh. And I guess I laugh at stuff that he does, like with the orderlies and everything here. But I didn't take it like that this is an unfunny comedy routine. That's not what I took away from it at all. Anyways, Jeffrey he gets a key from one of the guards, hands it over to Cole, and distracts the guards so Cole can get out, and he stumbles out in his heavily sedated state. And then ultimately, he gives them the slip. They're not able to. They capture him and they lock him up in a solitary confinement room.
Yeah.
And then when they come back to the room, he's gone because he's returned to 2035.
Yeah. The only thing in all that stuff that you kind of glossed over, that I had two pieces of commentary. First of all, what is with the lighting? It's so bright. Every scene is ridiculously bright. There's nothing. There's no grimdark. There's no noir. There's no. Basically like every cyberpunk movie is dimly lit. That's like a thing. And like even non-cyberpunk movies, stuff like Fight Club or whatever, like the lighting is really intentional. This is just bright as fuck. Like they just put floodlights in every scene.
Not in every, just in the hospital, like in those common rooms, it's like that.
It just seemed like everywhere it just seemed overly bright all the time.
Huh. Yeah, I think there's a lot of, it goes back and forth. There's certain things that are over saturated with light. And then you go back into the into the caves, or you go back underground, and then it's ultra dark. It goes both ways. I think it's just part of the giving you that sense of disorientation, right? As you go back and forth between the light and the dark.
Yeah. All right. So let's just move forward. He goes back to 2035. Right. He wakes up, and he's being interrogated again because they hear this distorted voice message that talks about the army of 12 monkeys and the virus.
Right. And they think that he left the message, but he couldn't leave the message because
he was in 1996, he was in 1990, not 1996.
So he tried to the doctor helped him make the phone call and call the number, and it was not the voicemail number that he was
just
trying to call.
Some random lady.
Yeah. And so, they start showing him pictures of what they think, clues that they have basically towards solving the mystery of the 12 monkeys and the virus. And they're flipping through them really fast. And it seems like they're deliberately disorienting him again.
Yeah.
But then they flash by that picture of Brad Pitt. And he's like, yeah, that guy. I met that guy in a mental institution. And, and they're asking him, it's like, were you on drugs? And he's like, they made me be on drugs. It's like, oh, they made you be on drugs. Like they're treating him with suspicion. Basically, wherever he goes, no one believes what he's saying on either side of the time.
He's just screwed no matter what in this case.
But basically, they send it. They're going to send him back. One of the doctors. While he was in the mental hospital, he found a spider and he didn't know what to do with it. So he ate it. And one of the doctors kind of says, that was good thinking with the spider, Cole. Try to do more stuff like that. And I just you get the sense that the people that seem like they are in charge of the society have no idea what's going on.
Yeah,
either.
They're almost like cartoon villainy. They're like, we're going to send you back and you're better not fuck up this time. When they were the ones that sent him to the wrong year.
Right. Which they do, again, spectacularly because they send him
to World War One.
To World War One. And he gets shot in the leg. And he sees another one of fellow prisoners there who's getting hauled off on a gurney.
Yeah.
And they're out in the trenches in France and they're being mustard gassed and things are really bleak. And then
this battlefield, it's like LARP level costuming. It's terrible.
Yeah.
None of it looks real. It all just looks like Spirit Halloween.
Do you think? I don't think they have World War One soldier costumes at the Spirit Halloween. It's probably Army surplus.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Although it would probably, if it was Vietnam era.
Yeah, but it had that wool look though, like the uniforms that we see for the World War One stuff.
Yeah, it just looked real, like the gas masks and stuff. They looked all wonky. It was just like, you guys were doing way better in the 1990s. That's a lot easier to pull off.
Right.
So he eventually makes it to 1996.
Yeah, he jumps again, essentially. And in 96, we cut over to Dr. Riley. And she's giving a lecture on the Cassandra complex, where she's basically, the stuff that happened in 1990 has inspired this whole line of work for her about people who believe they know humanity's future. And so she's written a book about it, and she's going around and giving speeches on this. She made quite a bit of a name for herself in this field, inspired by Cole. And then when she leaves to go get in her car, he's waiting in the car for her to kidnap her.
And he's all creeper. He's got the full face covering and all of that. And he basically is like, let's go, drive. I've got a gun. He doesn't have a gun.
And he forces her to take him to Philadelphia.
Yeah, and he's bopping to the music, and it's just kind of like a weird scene.
These are, I think, the best scenes in the movie. I think this is Bruce Willis's probably the best performance of his career.
Wow.
You never see Bruce Willis plays Bruce Willis in movies generally. It's very rare for him to be this sort of raw and vulnerable as he is in this movie. Because you watch him and he hears like songs on the radio, like from his childhood, and immediately transforms into a little kid. And he's just like, you know, enraptured by the radio. And she's taken so off guard by this guy who she's terrified by, but then also fascinated by.
Yeah, and she starts having a bit of Stockholm syndrome. She starts, you know, being really...
Well, I mean, that is one way to look at it, right? Is she someone that's developing sympathy for her captor, like you say, like Stockholm syndrome, or is he starting to convince her? And then how would you know that? Because that's what someone with Stockholm syndrome would probably think.
Yeah.
You know, you would think, like, actually, he makes a really good point, and everyone else would tell you that you're suffering from Stockholm syndrome. So anyways, they're driving there. There's some things on the radio, like a story about a little kid in a well.
Yeah.
That at this point, he's not interested in it. But eventually he tells her, like, he's like, I remember that.
Oh,
it was a hoax.
Yeah.
The kid's hiding in the barn. They make their way to Philadelphia. They discover that Goins is the founder of the 12 Monkeys. They find his little anarchist art collective where he's been making flyers and stuff. And they basically use all of this to track it back to his father, who's a virologist named Dr. Leland Goins.
Yeah, so it's it makes sense. You know, a virus gonna kill all most of humanity.
Yeah,
and this guy's a virologist, etc.
Yeah, and so we just start putting the obvious pieces together, right? That Brad Pitt's character is the guy. He's going to release the virus. His father developed the virus. He's going to steal it and release it. And we need to stop it before that happens. It's very obvious pieces that are falling into place.
Yeah, and at one point, there's as he's going up to the anarchist collective place, a guy, like a homeless dude, walks up and is like talking about how there's tracking device in your teeth. And he tells Bruce Willis to take his teeth out, and then he smiles, and this guy has barely any teeth.
Right.
And so that, he starts thinking about that. Maybe that's how they're tracking me. That's how they know where I'm at, is with my teeth.
Yeah, because they're able to pull him back without him doing anything.
Yeah, without any knowledge.
And so they make their way, kind of upstate or whatever, to where Dr. Goins, he's having like a fundraiser banquet at his house. And you get this you get the impression that Cole's going to do something dark, because he sort of seems like he turns on the doctor, and it cuts away and gives you the impression like
he's like choking her to death or something.
Yeah, like it very much I guess it reminds me of the scene in Frankenstein, the film, not the book. Oh, I guess it's in the book too, where he throws the little girl in the water, because you never see that. You just see the look on his face, and then you cut away. Yeah, and it reminded me of that. Like, oh, he's going to do something terrible past the cut. But what he does is he goes and kind of talks his way into coming into the fundraiser. And the security at the fundraiser goes and gets Brad Pitt from upstairs and says, we've got a friend of yours downstairs, or someone that claims to be your friend.
Yeah, it is weird to me. Like, maybe it's movie's dated or whatever, but like how he kind of manhandles her, and it's kind of off-putting in a modern sensibility. And then, like, spoiler alert, she still likes him. Yeah. After all of this, I'm just like, I don't really like that. Yeah. It doesn't sit right.
The romance, which is not really there yet, but develops, it feels like it comes kind of out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's not natural. Yeah. There's no chemistry. Has anyone ever had chemistry with Bruce Willis on screen?
On screen?
I don't think so.
Oh, jeez.
He's just a chud.
Ouch. Bruce Willis, a chud. That's a hot take from Dave.
I'm way better looking than that guy. So are you. He's just kind of like a weird looking.
I don't think Bruce
regular ass dude
he's got kind of a brutish caveman face.
He does. He looks. If he were in Game of Thrones, he has the blood of the North. He's a first man. He's probably from House Umber.
Yeah, but some people like that, or he's a Karstark.
Yeah. You know,
some people are into.
Maybe you're into that. Maybe you're a wildling and you're looking for a caveman of your own.
He'll climb in your window and take you.
Yeah,
that's the wildling way.
Yeah, he's a wildling raider.
And right now he's raiding a corporate fundraiser at Dr. Leland Goines' house. And then basically, Brad Pitt, I keep calling him Brad Pitt. What's his name? Jeffrey?
Doesn't matter. Brad Pitt.
Yeah, Brad Pitt kind of says, "Oh, we're doing your plan. We're gonna do this thing," and it's just like
kill the world.
We're gonna kill everyone in the world. And he's like, I didn't tell you that. And so you start getting the impression that if he is actually time traveling, he's become the problem. Like he's actually the thing that causes the apocalypse.
Yes.
So it's like he's coming back in time and he's making things worse. He's not actually making things better. And he has a real existential crisis over this.
I do want to say, though, when you have Brad Pitt in a tuxedo with a long hair and ponytail, I just think vampire.
You always just think that all the time.
He looks like Louis.
I kept thinking, to compare it to Interview with a Vampire, I kept thinking he's enjoying this so much more than Interview with a Vampire, where he looks miserable through the entire movie.
But he gives an amazing performance.
I don't think that's true.
Yeah,
I don't
Tom
think
Cruise's performance is probably better.
Tom Cruise gives an amazing performance. Brad Pitt does what he has to do to not be in violation of his contract.
It's a good performance.
I don't think so.
Have you watched that movie lately?
Yeah, we watched it. We watched it for this podcast. He's miserable, and it shows through the entire movie.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to be there. But this movie, he's going for things in this movie.
Oh, I see what you did there. Name's going.
What I kept thinking was that you're seeing a prototype of Tyler Durden in this movie.
Although I gotta say, Durden, that's better than this. That's the next level.
Yeah, I think that this is the first time that he went for it like that.
I think
by the time you get to Fight Club, he has he has all the tools.
And then after that, he goes even further in Snatch, when he's just incomprehensible and fully in character.
Yeah.
It's like a progression of weirdness.
He goes so far where he's no longer recognizable as himself
in
Snatch. Yeah. Yeah, that's where he's at the height of his power. He's gone completely over.
He's really good.
He's just learning how to do it in this movie, but he is excellent in this movie. Some people, this is the peak. But this is Brad Pitt just coming into his power.
Yeah. He goes much further after this.
So Cole goes back out to the car. He's sort of fallen apart because he thinks he's the cause of the virus now and everything. He's ready to give himself up. He lets the lady out of the car. She kicks the shit out of him.
Yeah, there's a news report just before this so that they can build some tension that the corpse of a strangled lady was found in a park, and you're like, oh no, did he actually strangle her? Yeah. And then he opens the trunk and she's there, and we're like, oh, okay, she's not strangled. And she beats him up.
Yeah. And then he goes, she's basically trying to flag down the cops who are looking for him, and he disappears. Mm-hmm. He zaps back to 2035.
And she tells the cops that like when that Cole defended her in, earlier when they were attacked by hobos, and and there's news broadcasts showing like crowds of people like mobbing her home, like surrounding, and it's kind of weird. Like she was a celebrity disappearance or something.
Yeah, like basically while the manhunt was going on for her, it's sort of running, in the 24-hour news cycle, it's running concurrent with the boy in the well thing. Yeah. She's another one of these sort of cause de célèbre things that's going on.
And then we have Cole back in the future, and he kind of opens his eyes, and there's this weird like oil painting suspended on the roof above him, on the ceiling above him. And then the scientists are singing to him and clapping, and it's just surreal and odd. The scene is off-putting.
Yeah, they're like, we heard you liked music, Cole, and so they're singing "Wonderful World," I think, and basically they're very pleased with him. They think he's come back with really good information this time.
Yeah.
And they think he's given some really good clues, and they're rewarding him by showing him this like painting of the outdoors and singing to him, and they're like good little monkey, you did good on your mission. Yeah. I guess that's another parallel, right? Because they were sending a monkey down the well with a sandwich to bring to the little boy who was trapped in the well,
who's not actually
there. Yeah,
I like that they were trying to bait a little boy out with a sandwich.
Right?
But would a roast beef sandwich have baited you out of a well you were hiding in?
I mean, I'd like to think I'd like to get out of the well without having to be hooked on a fish hook.
I think I'd have sent the roast beef back and asked for PBJ.
Do you have notepaper down there?
Yeah, no, you just there's a camera on the monkey's head.
Yeah. Oh, but there was no kid in the well. So
that's true. I like that one cop that said that monkey's gonna eat the sandwich himself.
But he's the monkey, right?
Yes.
They've sent him just like they used to send him up to the surface, and they've sent him into the past. Mm-hmm. He is just that trained monkey, and now they're giving him a grape, because he did the job good.
So if you counted all the times that Bruce Willis has to do various things, you think there'd be 12? I mean, I don't want to go try to do that, but I mean,
it's not 12. It's not 12 times. That would be
legit.
That'd be next level. But no, I don't think it is 12 times. But he is the monkey. He's the trained monkey.
Yeah.
But he just wants to get back, because he's sort of fallen for the doctor, and he starts convincing them,
I gotta go back.
I've got to go back. I can do more. And I'm getting really close. I can discover more. I can do more. And they're a little suspicious, but he did so good on the last mission. He convinces them to send him back again. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, back in 1996, the doctor gets that bullet she took out of his leg. We brushed over that. She
bandaged him up.
She pulled World War I bullet out of his leg.
Same time frame.
It's the same time frame, roughly. It's roughly in the before COVID. It's all one big time.
Yes, exactly.
So, the cops that she gave the bullet to, they're like, you want to revise your story because this is a World War I bullet. Mm-hmm. So you didn't pull this out of his leg. And then she starts looking over her notes
and she makes a crazy person wall with pictures and articles.
Well, she already had the crazy person wall because that's the research for writing her book.
Yeah.
But her crazy person wall had a photo of Cole in World War I on it already.
I kind of want a crazy person wall somewhere, but it would be like decor. Mm-hmm. It would be for effect. It would just be cool.
Oh. Well, you could do. You got some blank space down here.
Yeah, that would be cool. Maybe doing about vampires or something.
Why you just could take your notes from a past role-playing game campaign and your concept art and stuff like that, lay it out on the board, pin stuff up, and then string between things like the way...
That could be really fun. That's not a bad idea.
And you already have the stuff. You just need the cork board and the strings to pull it all together.
Could even make never mind. This is a rabbit. I like crafting things. So
she's gone fully over now. She believes the story because now she's a scientist. Now she has evidence. She thinks he's actually a time traveler.
Yes.
He comes back and finds her. He doesn't believe anything anymore. She's completely convinced him that he was delusional, and he comes to her for help. He wants to turn himself in and get help so he can stay in 1996, which is reality, and 2035 is a delusion. But now the roles are reversed, where she has to convince him,
yes.
You're correct, and he doesn't want to believe it. He wants to believe the story that she told him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, it's starting to get to the point where this the tail is wagging the dog in this movie. Like there
Yeah.
isn't much movement forward. It's just it's circular at this point. I mean, it is a time travel movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit Groundhog's Day.
Okay.
Where the different times he goes back, they slowly fall more and more in love as it starts.
Right.
There's violence and whatnot. Finally, at the end, now they've reversed roles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And at this point, she's going nuts, and he is thinking he's sane, but no, and it's just kind of like totally weird. And they're outside the 12 Monkey Army like headquarters, and we get Going Jr. gives a total monologue about why Riley knows how he knows and all this stuff. It's just like a crazy monologue. Probably the best performance in the movie.
You think
the Brad Pitt monologue at the HQ
at the headquarters?
Yeah,
I like because he starts he's like you don't have to worry that my psychiatrist is out there, and they're like, what? Why is your psychiatrist out here? What do you mean you have a psychiatrist?
And he's like telling them and going through this plan and being all crazy. And at the end, he goes, "If you forget one thing, I'll have you shamed, sterilized, and destroyed." And I just thought, wow, in that order: first shamed, then sterilized, then destroyed. I mean, you could skip to destroyed, but then you'd miss out on shamed and sterilized.
If you just destroy someone, you don't get to shame them.
Yeah, I thought that was actually a fun line. Like, I've been largely unamused, but I was amused at that.
Okay. You're just a joyless hater, I think, is all that comes down to.
I think that I recognize and appreciate true quality. And I dislike bait and switch.
Oh,
This is not a top 10 cyberpunk movie.
We could have done another episode on Ghost in the Shell.
That's true. We probably should have. Or like the TV, the anime, the show.
Oh, like the series?
Yeah, could have done that.
Or we could have done the TV series 12 Monkeys.
Oh, shit. I saw that too when I was looking for this.
Okay. So anyways, they decide to run away together. They're going to go off to the Florida Keys and wait for this whole pandemic, plague virus to blow over.
Yeah, they're like creeping around. I don't know what you'd call it, a houseless village, and they end up in an hourly hotel.
Yeah,
I don't know what you call that.
I think it's called a no-tell motel.
Motel.
And the assumption is made that she is a sex worker, and so they call the local pimp in charge of the territory, because no one recognizes this girl, and there's rules to this pimp game.
Yeah, like she can't be an independent operator. And
right.
So the dude breaks in and he's like being all violent, and I was just like, why is this scene in this movie? You could have cut. You probably should have cut. There was no reason for any of this.
I'll give you this.
The whole no-tell motel scene and everything that happened there should have been cut.
There's one important thing that happens in the hotel.
What?
And that is that Bruce Willis removes his tracker tooth.
Yeah, he removes his tooth. Okay. Could have happened on the street.
It could have happened anywhere. But
it would have been better if that homeless guy had handed him a set of pliers and he had just done it right on the street. That would have been impactful.
But we would miss something that made a huge impact on me for whatever reason, and that is Bruce Willis beating a pimp within the inch of his life using an old-fashioned dial-up phone.
I like that. Beating him with the phone. Like, have we seen that in another movie? It feels like I've seen that before.
No, but I remember, like, when we worked at Ward's, like...
grabbing a phone.
Picking up the phone and holding it, because that particular box phone that you used to get from the Ma Bell store back in the day,
real old school.
It has sort of like a grip on it, so you can walk around holding it. You have the receiver and you're holding the box in the other hand, and so he has the phone gripped in like his.
And those things are metal on the bottom.
They have a metal plate, and he beats the shit out of the guy with it. And you're right, this is a cuttable scene. But that act of brutality always stuck with me as a particularly heinous act of brutality.
I am not a hater of brutality in movies. I mean, I really like brutality. Like, I like Quentin Tarantino movies, and I think that there's a time and a place. So this hit well for me. I loved the phone face smashing, but I still thought, like, damn.
The pimp didn't add anything.
What did this do for the story? I keep asking myself in like half these scenes, how does this advance the story? How does this advance the story? Maybe I'm too analytical because I like to write.
Yeah.
And I have been an English teacher. I know the mechanics of writing a story or a novel or whatever. I always ask myself, what beat are they hitting in a plot diagram?
Yeah.
Like, is this rising action? Is that, you know, like I'm trying to analyze it.
Yeah.
It's like what I do when I listen to music. Sometimes I ruin it for myself. I'm wondering what the fuck the authors of this screenplay were doing.
Yeah. Well, a screenplay is a different thing than a movie.
It's the basis of the movie.
It's the basis
right?
of the movie, but you understand things are going to get carved away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's certain scenes in there. What does this scene do for the movie? I'm not really sure. Maybe there's some... I guess there's a character... What it does is sets up him going into the bathroom and coming out having pulled his tooth out.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing that it gets to. But you're right. You could have done that without the pimp. The pimp didn't bring anything to it. Except for, I think you're just seeing sort of like their descent.
Into madness.
Into madness and into low society. Like, she's falling down into the pit with him, essentially. He's really dragging her down. Like, ruining her life. But now
ladies, do not date a future time traveling ex-con.
And those are good rules.
It's bad for you.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they go to get on a bus and get out of there, and she goes to a payphone, and he's having a flashback about a bear and a lion, and she leaves a message
because he's seen the landmarks from his expedition. We're coming back full circle. This is the movie's Ouroboros or whatever.
I think they should have done a full Green Knight where they flip the screen.
You think? Where is the flip point? Like, where it's when she sees him. You're right. Here's how I would have done that. If I'm gonna get a screen flip in there,
all right,
because she had the picture. It was focused on the guy that she had a statement from, right? From the World War I picture.
Yeah, and he was in the background.
And he's on the gurney, and Bruce Willis is reaching for him up out of the trench.
Yeah.
What I'd have the thing on the board oriented so it was focused in on that guy. And then her, when she realizes that Bruce Willis's character was there, she flips the thing around and he comes into focus.
That would have been very...
Because that's when her mind flips.
Had you thought of a career in cinematography?
It's a little late, but...
A little late?
I don't... Actually,
You're
no,
like
it's not.
A youthful 49.
Jeez. Thank you. A spry 62.
Yeah.
So anyways...
She leaves the message about the army of the 12 monkeys on the payphone.
Yeah, and she tells him the message that she left, and he finishes it because he heard the message.
Yeah, he already knows.
And now he, his willful delusion that he was crazy falls away, and he realizes he really is a time-traveling convict from the future. And the world is really about to end, and everything is pointless.
Could you imagine that? You're getting in the car with Lisa or whatever, and you're like, she says something, and you're like, fuck, I am from the future. I am an ex-con. It just hits you like, that wasn't a dream.
My whole nightmare reality is true, and my mundane fantasy that I'm escaped mental patient.
That's the fake life.
That's the one I wish I was an escaped mental patient because my future is too bleak.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, but
he doesn't plan on going back. That's why he removed his teeth.
He removed the tooth.
He's like, I'm done with the future. I live in the 90s.
I live in the 90s.
I want to go back to the 90s.
I know.
It was pretty dope.
You fly back, or you time travel back to 1996, knock your tooth out so they can't bring you back. And he's fully willing. He's like, I'll just die in 1996 when the virus hits. Mm-hmm. That's fine. And so they're going to go to the Florida Keys and either...
Because they keep hearing these radio advertisements about the beautiful Florida Keys.
Yeah. And as they're going there, there's a crazy traffic jam because the Army of the 12 Monkeys released all the animals in the zoo.
Yeah. And you see like a flock of flamingos fly by,
Yeah.
a big pink flock of birds.
Yeah. And there's elephants in the street and jungle cats and giraffes. And they kind of start convincing themselves, that's all the 12 monkeys were.
Oh, yeah. They were just eco-terrorists.
They're just eco-terrorists. There's no virus.
It was all bullshit.
It's all bullshit. It's all going to be fine. They get to the airport. They've got their goofy disguises, and it's pre 9/11, so you can go to the airport
walk right up
wearing a fake mustache, and no one bats an eye at you.
Yeah.
She goes to deal with the tickets, and he goes to the bathroom to fix his mustache, and he runs into another one of his dudes, like another guy from the future, time traveling prisoner, and he's like, wow. Why'd you take your tooth out? That was crazy. There's still more work for you to do.
And it's his buddy Jose.
Yeah. And he's like, he gives him a gun. He doesn't want the gun.
And it's like an old timey revolver.
Yeah.
It's like a private eye, I don't know.
I don't know how he got it either. You know what I mean? Because they basically show up naked, I think, like Terminator style.
Yeah.
So it's like he
that.
came back and had to find himself a gun.
Okay, so tangent. Mm-hmm. What's your favorite movie time machine?
What's my favorite movie time machine?
Mm-hmm. Because this is basically just a time machine movie.
It is because
it's easy to say the DeLorean because it's a car and it's pretty cool, but it is fairly inaccurate.
I didn't even go there at all. Like I didn't even think of the DeLorean. Cooler than the DeLorean is the train from Back to the Future 3.
Oh, that is pretty legit. I remember when that came out. I was like, wow, that's cool.
But that's the DeLorean. I mean, both of those are a little ostentatious, where people notice when you show up with a steam engine or with a DeLorean.
I mean, the one from the Terminator is pretty legit. I mean, you show up naked, but it seems accurate.
I think the Bill and Ted phone booth is probably the way I'm going to go.
Oh, man. I hadn't even thought about the Bill and Ted phone booth because that moves you through space and time.
Yeah.
I actually am going with the Napoleon Dynamite one where you put the crystals in the top. It doesn't work, but it's my favorite.
That's
not for effectiveness, but for appearance.
Yeah. I liked the second, the Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey phone booth where it doesn't have the antenna, because that was shown in the first movie to be a real structural weakness of the time machine.
It broke off and it was screwed.
The second version of the phone booth time machine, that's my pick.
Okay. Yeah, I'm down. I think the phone booth might be the king.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so back to it.
He goes
back out. Riley spots Dr. Peters at the airport.
Bad on us, because Dr. Peters has been showing up repeatedly
every now and then. I just thought he was just random doctor guy who worked with big bad scientist goings.
Yeah. So actually,
but he's like this ginger dude.
Dr. Peters, he's got the ginger ponytail. He's the guy from Cole's dream that he's been having in the airport, where he sees himself gunned down in the future, basically, and he sees the Dr. Peters as well, or not Dr. Peters. What's the girl? What's the
Dr. Riley?
Dr. Riley. This is the guy from the fantasy, or from the nightmare that he was chasing, that he saw get killed. Saw the guy get killed when he was a kid in the airport.
Yeah.
He's the guy that's going to release the virus.
Yeah, and it's crazy because they do this kind of side scene where the TSA guy is like interrogating Dr. Peters. He has him open the biological sample thing, and then he's like, I'm going to need you to open that thing more. Pull the sample out. Could you shake it? That'd be great.
That scene is so wild. I mean,
Two things. One, fuck the TSA. Two, that's super unrealistic.
I don't know. Do you remember how weird, like, pre 9/11, pre take your shoes off, pre all of that stuff, how loose the airport was?
Well, it really was. So I remember traveling pre 9/11, and it was one of two ways.
Yeah.
Either you got pulled for a random screening where they basically were going to stick their fist up your ass, or nothing.
Yeah.
It was one or the other.
I remember because I used to always wear steel-toed boots, right?
And so it was the 90s, and that's what you did.
And so I would go through, boop, 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 and I go, it's my boots. And they go, okay, that's it. That's all that happened. And
I remember going through there like, will you take those spikes off of your wrists? Okay.
I'm going to put them back on when I get on.
Put them right back on. And they're like, I know, but you have to take them off to go through the detector.
Yeah.
And so they pass through in the change tray.
So this scene, while ridiculous, strikes me as shockingly plausible.
But a biological, like a biohazard, you really think?
Well, I don't think it said hazard on it. It just said like biological specimen.
Okay.
So because the
guy's like, I'm looking for the caterpillar in there.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
It's like because there's certain rules about like when you're transporting specimens or whatever, the sort of the biohazard symbol. And since I think because it doesn't have one, it wouldn't be a hazardous specimen. So he's like, oh, what do you really got in there? Like, it's crazy. It's a crazy thing to do, and he's way out of line. But I can almost believe that someone would do this.
But when you get these miniature tyrants in their realm of power, they flex.
Yeah, he's like, I need you to take all those out. Drink a little.
Yeah.
Pour it on yourself.
Exactly. I see you've been through the TSA recently.
Unbutton 3 buttons and maintain eye contact with me. Yeah. Anyways, he has like these vials of a deadly virus and a crazy one-way itinerary that would get you flagged nowadays too. If you were like, you're just gonna hop all around the world on a one-way. You're not staying anywhere for any length of time. They would never let you do it. But he's just like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna just hopscotch all around the world with my biological specimens.
Yeah, NBD.
And they're like, all right, I see nothing wrong here, sir.
Exactly.
So we finally get to the scene that the movie more or less opens with, where we relive the moment at the airport where he's chasing down the guy.
Yeah, he forces his way through the metal detector. He's chasing his way after Peters. He pulls his gun, and the cops gun him down.
Yeah, and he witnesses it himself as a little boy.
Because he's the little boy watching his adult self get gunned down.
And the little boy has the moment where he makes eye contact with the doctor, and she looks meaningfully at him because she knows that he's there because she's heard this story too.
Yeah.
And, it's the snake's eating its tail. We've come full circle. And then I think from there we have the outside shot of the Cole family going back to their car. It's an absurd crane on crane shot because Terry Gilliam didn't want to include this in the movie. And so he devised like the most expensive way to shoot the scene that he could, thinking that they would not let him do it. And they're like, no, we really need the parking lot scene. And so they did. And then it works good. The camera comes from way in the sky of almost like a plane eye view of the parking lot. Yeah. And then drops all the way down to the car to look at the little kid with his PTSD face, leaving the airport.
Yeah, just looking like, oh, I watched me die.
Yeah, like he's like, I saw something terrible. I don't think I'll ever go to an airport again.
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever sleep again.
Well, it's a rough one for Cole. His aurobus is really bad.
Yeah.
And then we just get one final scene, essentially. Actually, I got these in the wrong order.
Yeah, whatever. The nerd doctor from the future sits down next to Peters on the plane.
So you got it was her.
Yeah.
I completely missed this. So I was watching the documentary, the Hamster Factor, and Terry Gilliam is talking about this scene. Like, he's like, I didn't want to include the scene, but the studio wanted to include it because it shows that that Cole was actually successful because
they wanted to make it a win.
Yeah, because they were able to lead the scientists to the guy that released the virus. He actually did do the job. I have never got that watching this movie. I always thought it was just
a throwaway scene.
It was like he's just going to go and release his virus and destroy the world. And, and the whole thing was pointless. And I've always sort of reveled in the bleakness of the movie.
Well, and she says, I work in insurance.
Yeah.
AKA ensuring that the human race survives.
Exactly. It totally makes sense. But I just didn't... I recognized her, but I kind of thought it was her before the apocalypse. Not, you know what I mean? Like, not like I knew it was her, but I didn't take this as, and I'm going to kill your ass and make it so you don't release this virus. Which totally changes the movie for me, honestly. It's like, I didn't realize that there was an optimistic
There's a silver lining of
piece
this
to it.
Brown cloud.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the movie.
Yeah, there you go.
What worked for you?
Brad Pitt's acting. I really think he kicked ass. His monologue is great. I loved him at the party, his father's party where he's in the tux and when all the shit is going down and Cole is running through the party, he's up on the balcony or whatever you call it, the overlook, and he's just like shouting down and he's being all crazy. And I just thought that his acting was super good. That's basically my highlight.
That's your one highlight.
That's my highlight.
Okay. So my highlight is Bruce Willis's performance.
Oh shit!
And like
that ass.
Double nude scene from Bruno. I'm there for that. No, I think this is his best performance
in any movie.
In any movie, I think this is his most raw, most vulnerable, most like open, real acting performance.
Expendables?
Yeah, shockingly, not Die Hard 9 or any of the Expendables movies. No, I think this is his best performance, hands down. And then number 2, this is just entirely the opposite of everything that you've said. I love the pacing of this movie.
Oh, wow.
I love the way like I said, it's an aurora. Why can't I say that word?
An aurora borealis? No. An Ouroboros.
Ouroboros. It's a snake eating its tail.
Yeah.
We end up where we began, but I love...
You call it a snake eating its tail. I call it a turd donut.
Well, you're a poet.
I am a wordsmith.
Yeah. I just lack your vision.
Exactly.
But I love the way you go on the journey through the movie with him. Basically, you start out thinking he's crazy, and the way it goes around and comes back on itself. And I love the pace at which it lays itself out. And at the time when this film came out, I was super into movies that didn't have happy endings.
Oh.
And so this really checked a big box for me. I was like, yeah, that's the real shit. The sad ending, because life's like that. It's sad.
My life sucks.
Life sucks. It's 1995 and I'm 16 years old. So it's like, I really loved how bleak the ending of this movie was.
Okay.
What didn't work for you?
So first of all, I just want to say it's completely miscategorized. I think Cyberpunk is grim, gritty, and dark. It needs to be those things.
This is those things.
This is not grim. It might be psychologically. It might be gritty in the fact that everyone in the movie looks like a hobo.
That's pretty gritty.
And it might be dark in that the outlook for the human race is bad, but it's physically bright all the time.
No, it
is not well lit. The lighting in this movie is just trash.
Okay.
It's just the worst. Also, I would say the mood in the movie is not grim or dark. It's whimsical. Like, they're trying to give you an Alice in Wonderland or like a Willy Wonka. Like,
do you think that?
Am I crazy? Am I not crazy? Like, they're trying to do this almost. It's like pseudo psychedelic. It's not grimdark. Like, this is just. It's like whimsically. Psychedelic in its meanderings.
Okay.
And that is not cyberpunk.
Okay.
I think the sound design was terrible. It added nothing to the film. There was never a moment where the sound stood out. I noticed in the last couple of reviews we've talked about things. I have gushed about the music and the soundtrack and the sound design, the way they incorporate things. This was the opposite of that. Okay. It was completely ignorable. I thought that the depiction of the asylum was completely cartoonish and negative. I don't think mental illness is funny, and I just don't like the depictions. I don't think it was very good. There was just a ton that should have been on the cutting room floor. This was like a tight 52 minutes. I mean, but instead it was 2 hours and 6 minutes.
Well, I mean, the original short, to be fair to your point, the original short's like 27 minutes long and includes almost the entire story.
So it's a loose 52 minutes and it's a tight 27. This was meandering and plodding, tangents on the side that were just utterly pointless and annoying. I really did not like this movie.
Okay.
I wanted to turn it off. When Carrie and I took a short pause in the middle, she was like, "Are you really going to finish that?" And I was like, "Fuck, I have to."
Wow. Okay.
So yeah. How about you? What didn't work for you?
So the thing that didn't work for me, I wish that the movie was more ambiguous. I wish that I wish it didn't become clear that Cole was actually from the future and that he wasn't delusional.
Maybe he was just a mental patient.
Yeah, well, I mean, the World War I bullet in his leg and the photo from 1918.
No, what I'm suggesting is it would have been great if you could have asked that question.
If at the end, if it was like Blade Runner, and at the end you could argue
whether he's a replicant or not.
Exactly. I wanted more ambiguity from the movie than it tells us too much.
Totally agree.
Too early on.
And implied terror, like with the birds, how they fly off towards the mainland. It's implied terror. This is too on the nose with the doctor. I'm in insurance.
Yeah. So, yeah, I wish it was more ambiguous and a little more open for debate.
Okay.
And so that's what didn't work for me.
That was it?
I mean, I said earlier, I think that Brad Pitt's at an 11. I'd like him at a 10.
He's too extra.
But he also is one of the highlights of the movie. You know what I mean? So
he's the only award winner.
Yeah.
Nobody else involved in this won any awards for this.
Yeah. Is that true?
It is true. According to Wikipedia.
Oh, okay. Well, that can be edited.
Yeah, I probably edited it.
You went through and you're like, I'd take that Golden Globe away posthumously.
Yeah.
All right. This is usually when you come up with what other people say about it, isn't it? Or
normally
we do our reviews first? Okay.
I mean, you already know where I'm going. I'm not going to give it a 1 because Brad Pitt's acting was good. I also thought that Bruce Willis was pretty good. I thought Dr. Riley was pretty good. And so I give this a 2 stars.
Okay. I'm at a 4.
Oof.
I think this is a great movie. It's almost like we watched completely different movies. Our takeaways are so divergent on this one.
Man. I could just not watch this movie.
I watched this movie and I hadn't revisited it since our youth. But I enjoyed watching it a lot. And then, was happy to sit down and watch an hour-long documentary about it also.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm big on this movie.
All right. Well, I'm going to sadly say that the world agrees with you and not me. It's got an 8 out of 10 on IMDb, so that's 4. It's got slightly higher on Rotten Tomato and slightly lower on Metacritic, but basically 4 is the right rating. I don't agree. I think it was tedious as fuck. I never will watch this movie again. But I do agree with you on Brad Pitt's arc. This is the precursor to Fight Club's excellence, where he really is just amazing. He just leaps off the screen. All right, so I guess let's go ahead and take a short break, and then we'll come back to our closing segment.
Welcome back, divers. It's time for our final segment, the one where I ask Dave, what are you into right now?
So I struggled with this one because I don't want to just make this the what are you streaming right now segment. I've been listening to some audiobooks, so I could talk about those. I got a cool birthday present I could talk about, but I'm going to just give you a little sampler. Okay. What am I listening to right now? On Audible, there was an Audible original radio drama, so full casted with sound effects. So it's free if you have an Audible account, called Impact Winter.
Okay, I think you told me about this.
Yeah, I think it's like 5 hours-ish. It's not that long. And it is a vampire story, but it's a post-apocalyptic vampire story.
Oh, two of your faves.
Yeah, and it's really well done. I enjoy it. They end it well. Like, I was like, when's the next one coming out? But there's no news because it's new.
Okay.
And so there's that.
Who wrote it?
I don't even remember. He's not even like normally an author. He's a guy who has been like a producer for like audio stuff. And this was his first like writing credit. He doesn't even have any other novels I could devour. So while I was on that vampire kick, I went and downloaded. I used a credit on it.
It's Travis Beacham is the author's name,
and all credit to Travis Beacham because this is really fucking good. Impact Winter, free, worth the price. If you're already an Audible person, just add it because it's good. Anyway,
he was a writer on Pacific Rim.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, so he's a guy in the industry, but he doesn't have any other titles you can get on Audible.
Okay.
So I went and got George R.R. Martin's only vampire novel called Fever Dream. And it's like an 1800 set piece on the Mississippi River with about a steamboat captain and a vampire. Okay. And it's like if Mark Twain and Anne Rice collabed on a book.
Okay.
It's like super good. I mean, it's George R.R. Martin. He writes good books. And he wrote this a long time ago. He wrote it like in the 80s or something.
So it's pre-Game of Thrones.
Yeah, this is pre-Game of Thrones fame. Obviously, everything he ever wrote got made into audiobooks or whatever when he got big. Anyway, so it's good, and I'm not done with it. Okay, so here's the other thing. The birthday present that I got a couple of them. I'm going to talk about one. I got a Traeger smoker and grill.
I saw that outside.
For my birthday, and it is awesome. I've been learning, grilling is easy. There's a difference between grilling and barbecue. Barbecue is when you smoke stuff. It has to be long time, less than an hour.
And low.
Yeah, not less than an hour, and that's only for very certain things. Like I made smoked mushrooms with dinner tonight, and those were an hour. Okay. So yeah, low and slow is the way, and I've been investigating. I've been watching various YouTube channels. There's like a whole rabbit hole for smoking because it's more art than science. This isn't like baking, it's cooking. Cooking is like chaos. Baking is like science. Right. And so when you're cooking, you can be like, oh, I'm adding these spices, I'm doing this rub, I'm doing this sauce, etc. I'm going to do it slightly higher temperature so I can get more of a bark on the outside or whatever. Right. So I'm experimenting. I'm learning all about it. The only thing I don't fuck around with is the internal temperatures. I look that up. What is the minimum internal temperatures for safety? Because nobody wants to get sick. Right. So I use a thermometer on any meats. Obviously, veggies are gonna be fine. And so I've made lots of stuff like chicken and bratwurst. I made Carrie some tri-tip and jerky. Made corn on the cob and mushrooms, and I'm going to be widening my array. I'm going to get some fish, some other stuff. I'm just pretty stoked on it because I wouldn't say it's super easy, but it doesn't take that long. You prep stuff up, like you brine something or you rub it or whatever. You prep the meat or the veggies or whatever you're making, and then you just put it on there for a long time. Sometimes there's like an intermediate step where you're like, oh, I'm going to pull this out. I'm going to wrap it in foil, and then I'm going to put it back in. That way it kind of it doesn't drip anymore, and the foil will act as an insulator, and it'll get a little like crispier.
Yeah.
There are little things you do here and there, and sometimes it's just like smoke for 3 hours at this setting and then turn it up to like 350 for the last half an hour to get a crisp on the outside. But ultimately, it's not tough. It's fun, and I'm going to be brining our Thanksgiving turkey and smoking it on the Traeger for Thanksgiving this year because we're hosting Carrie's family.
Other than the fact that you didn't eat meat for many years,
yeah.
I'm not surprised at all that you would become a Traeger guy because there is a thing about the Traeger culture. I can see how this is very triggering for you. Like you're like, oh, it's like a machine I can watch YouTube videos about.
Oh yeah, it is true. And it's funny because a lot of these guys, you watch YouTube videos, they look like me.
Yeah.
They're like a guy in their 40s with cool tattoos, and they're like making really good food.
The Traeger is definitely a dad. It's a dad tool.
It's a dad hobby for sure. I'm just not a dad.
You're not a dad, but you're dad aged.
I am.
People probably tell you Happy Father's Day on Father's Day.
They don't.
Oh, I get that, and I'm always like, I don't know what to say.
I get Happy Veterans Day, Happy Memorial Day, like every dead soldier day, and I'm not dead.
Is that without knowledge? Like people just see you and they go, "Thank you for your service."
I don't usually get cold called about it, but people are pretty easy to.
They
figure it out.
It's your haircut.
Yeah, I have a tight a skin fade usually, so people just know. But yeah, I don't get the dad stuff.
I get Happy Father's Day every
year.
Year.
Beard. It's a beard thing.
And I just, I'll either, because when you say you're like, well, I'm not a dad, and they'll be like, well, you probably have a cat or a dog, so
you're a dad.
You're a dad, and I was like, I actually don't agree with that. I don't think that's the same thing at all. But I guess thank you. Like
I'm cool uncle. That's better than dad.
Being uncle is way better than being a dad. I totally agree with that.
You never have to punish them. It's all good.
Nothing. You just do cool things for the kids. They're happy to see you. They're never like, I hate my uncle. Slam the door.
Yeah, exactly.
No one's ever. Well, I mean, some people have said it because there's been some dark uncles.
Yeah, there's been some horrible uncles out there, but that's not us.
Yeah. No one ever slams the door and says, I hate my uncle.
You know what dads don't have time for? Podcasting. But a couple of uncles we definitely do.
Yeah, they're changing diapers right now probably.
Or trying to like ride some kid to get their homework done.
Yeah.
All right, so what are you into right now?
Well, I'm today on what I'm streaming right now.
Not even an audiobook. That's like
I did an audiobook last week.
Oh, that's true. And I did streaming.
I told myself I'm gonna do a little pre-ramble here. I told myself a long time ago just to not be predictable. I wasn't gonna recommend any Disney, Star Wars, or Marvel stuff unless it's truly remarkable. Andor is truly remarkable.
I haven't watched it.
Yeah. So Andor, it's a prequel to Rogue One from 2016. The series is created by Tony Gilroy, who was one of the writers on Rogue One, and it is the backstory of thief-turned-rebel spy Cassian Andor, and it takes place over the 5-year period leading up to Rogue One. There's going to be two 12-episode seasons.
Ooh.
And the 2 seasons are each broken up into kind of 4 arcs. And so it's like 8 prequels to Rogue One, getting us from this sort of inciting incident with Cassian Andor to where we meet him at the beginning of Rogue One. And Denis Villeneuve said that Dune is Star Wars for grown-ups.
Yeah.
I disagree. Andor is Star Wars for grown-ups. Oh. Dune is Dune. This is the first adult Star Wars show that exists.
Nice, because I'm one of the few. Maybe I'm not in the minority. Maybe I just think I'm in the minority. But I think Rogue One is the 4th best Star Wars movie.
A lot of people think. Rogue One is the number 1 best Star Wars movie.
Even better than the original.
Yeah, Rogue One has some serious fans, and it has haters too because the internet is like that.
Sure.
I'm closer to yours with.
It's after the original.
We disagree on The Last Jedi, but to me, Last Jedi and Rogue One are neck and neck with each other.
Okay.
But it's just nice, especially coming off of Boba Fett, which I thought was bad.
Oof.
And then Obi-Wan, which was fine.
It was good. I think it was good.
Yeah, I liked it. But I honestly, forgot.
Too much Leia, but I
already forgot about it.
Oh.
Because I was watching this and around episode 2, because they dropped 3 episodes and the 4th one came out today. So you can get one whole arc and the first piece of the next arc.
Nice.
When we were watching around episode 2, I go, was Boba Fett the last thing? And Lisa's like, yeah, I think it was. And then it's like the next day I was like, Obi-Wan Kenobi. I completely already forgot Obi-Wan Kenobi.
So is Andor better than Mando? Because The Mandalorian is legit.
I think Mando is a great pulpy space opera.
Yeah, it is.
Space opera sushi western, like we say. This, I don't quite know exactly what genre to put. It's closer to cyberpunk.
Okay. Well, I think Star Wars, you could run a whole cyberpunk show just like on Coruscant.
Like some world, like it opens up in a very cyberpunk world, and then it goes to a more low-tech world. So, but it goes...
Do we get more Tatooine?
No Tatooine at all.
I was going to say, I have had an ass full of sand. I'm done with Tatooine.
No Tatooine and real sets. They film outdoors in real places, not on the volume, so it doesn't look like a video game.
Oh, wow.
It looks like real life because it is...
It is real life.
It is real life. It's, not to repeat myself, but it is literally the first Star Wars show for grown-ups. And I really wanted that bad. You know what I mean? I really wanted... I don't have anything against family programming or kids programming.
I do.
I know you do. And I can even... In the case of Mando or Obi-Wan, I can enjoy those things.
Sure.
But I also want grown-up content. And Andor finally gave me grown-up Star Wars. Okay. And so that's what I'm into.
Awesome. I'm glad that this is good, because when I went to Disney Plus or whatever to, I don't know what I was looking for, but I saw, Andor came out, and Carrie goes, more Star Wars, pass. And I was like, okay, pass.
Yeah.
I just like if I see him, like when She-Hulk came out, I was like,
you would hate that.
I was like, you want to watch She-Hulk? She goes, nah. I was like, me either. Yeah. And we moved on. So it was like, okay, I'm just going to pass on Star Wars stuff, because the last few animated things they've done have just been terrible. And so I was like, okay, like the Bad Batch and all that.
I don't think Bad Batch is terrible, but I don't think there's any reason. You don't have to watch it.
It's not.
It's not for you.
Its intended audience is a 12-year-old.
Yeah, I think that's accurate.
And so it's bad.
Sorry for the sharp laugh. That doesn't make it bad. It can be a good show for... You watched all that. You have wizard robes, man. I do
have Harry Potter wizard robes.
You should be a little more charitable to family or children's entertainment, because you dabble.
That's true. How dare you call me out on such a thing? How dare you? I thought we were co-hosts. Anyway, so I'm going to do the call to action.
All right.
So subscribe to us on your favorite podcatcher, as well as YouTube, Spotify, and Audible. Don't forget to leave us a review. Also, if you're not a member of Audible, you really should be, and they really should sponsor us.
We recommend Audible all the time.
We're stands for Audible. It's my second favorite platform, right after YouTube.
Yeah.
I pay for both.
Yeah.
The hell. Okay, a 5-star review costs you nothing, but means everything to us.
New episodes of Nick and Dave Deep Dive the Metaverse drop the 1st and 15th of every month, and you can find us on all social media platforms across the Metaverse as at Deep Dive the Meta. We are on Twitter, which Dave likes. We're on Instagram, which I like, and we are stubbornly still on Pinterest, which no one likes.
Well, I guess this is really goodbye.
Don't say goodbye. Say good journey.